All right, let's talk about this thing. This is the Mavic Mini 2, and I got it a few weeks ago, and today I want to talk about what my thoughts on it are, as well as if I think this little drone is worth it over some of the bigger, more capable drones, and why I specifically got this one over some of the other options out there. So to start, this is a 4K capable drone. The video settings max out at 4K 30 frames per second, with it being capable of 2.7K in 60 frames per second, as well as 1080p in 60 frames per second. And it's all in this very small little package. The total weight of this drone comes just under 249 grams, which makes it literally 1 gram under the weight limit that requires you to have a license to be able to fly this. So as far as the settings go, it is a 4K capable drone. It does 4K 30 frames per second, as well as 2.7K at 60 frames per second and 1080p at 60 frames per second. Now, for something that costs $450 without the Fly More combo and just about $600 with the Fly More combo, which you should definitely get, and I'll elaborate on that in a second, it's a really good value. What it allows you to do is have something that's very small, it's easy to carry around with you, fits in any camera bag, doesn't take too much space. You know, you can even fit it in your pocket and carry it around that way. And whenever you need to, you can whip it out, unfold it, get aerial shots of wherever you are. It allows for a lot of flexibility. And unlike the first Mavic Mini, which weighed the exact same and was kind of targeted for the exact same purpose, this one gets you 4K video. Now, as far as the settings go, I think the only ones that you should really care about, at least with this drone, is the 4K 30 and the 2.7K 60, because if you have the ability to shoot 2.7K 60, there's no reason to go down to 1080p unless you're running out of, memory card or space or something like that at the same frame rate, right? And that's one thing that I think this drone is missing, is the ability to shoot something like 1080p 120. Now, for the amount that you're paying for this drone, I don't miss it whatsoever, right? And the main reason I got something like this is because it is one of the cheapest drones in the DJI lineup. It's one of the most flexible in the DJI lineup. So having something like this in my camera bag is gonna give me that option of just whipping out a drone, unfolding it. It takes only a couple button clicks to sync everything up, get everything ready to fly, and then you're up in the air and you can get an aerial shot. All right, now let's talk about battery life and distance. So the battery life, according to DJI, is supposed to last for about 31 minutes worth of flight time. Now, the battery doesn't die exactly at 31 minutes. It has a built-in buffer for you in case, you're out flying, it's 30 feet away from you and it gets down past that 31 minutes of flying time. It has a little bit more battery life left to at least bring the drone back to you. Right now, with almost all of DJI's products, you have the return to home feature that basically just wherever it starts from, the drone is going to fly up to a certain height that you set, that's hopefully above any trees or any buildings in the area. It's just going to make a beeline for where you started flying, and then it's going to land exactly where you started flying. It really does a good job of at least letting you know when the battery is starting to get low. It'll start telling you, kind of nudge you towards, hey, you should probably think about bringing this back home, or at least starting the process of finishing up your shot and then coming back home. As far as the range goes, DJI says it can do 10 kilometers before it loses signal with the remote control, which is significantly more than the first Mavic Mini, but I haven't quite tested that yet. It's really terrifying when you're flying the drone. You can hear it kind of buzzing, right? It's, you know where it is. You can hear that it's, if it's hovering, you know roughly where it is because you can hear it. But once you get past, a few meters, you start to not be able to hear it anymore, or it becomes very faint. It's very hard to see where it is in the air because it is very small, and it's really terrifying, especially for someone that's new, to push the limits of that. So I haven't tested it myself by any means, but I'm sure if DJI is quoting it, then it's accurate, right? And the good thing too is, a drone like this, unlike something like an FPV drone, once it loses that range, it's not just gonna drop out of the air, right? It's gonna hover there. You can find the range. There's even a mode on the app to help you find where your drone is, right? It'll show you, pull up like a little map of where you are, and it'll show where you started flying, where the drone currently is. And you can kind of use that to help guide you to where the drone fell, if it fell out of the sky or anything like that. And that actually already came in very handy for me once. Overall, this thing has a pretty solid feature set, for $450 without the Fly More combo. It is a fantastic value, especially for someone that, just wants to be able to get drone shots, kind of get into it, but not necessarily do it professionally. So speaking of the Fly More combo, I made the mistake of buying mine without the Fly More combo. And the reason why it's a mistake, and why I think, if you're in the market for something like this, buy the Fly More combo, because normally when I buy like a camera or something like that, I generally don't get the kit. When I bought my Sony, I bought specifically just the body, and I also bought a whole mess of aftermarket batteries, which are generally a lot cheaper than the Sony OEM offering. With the DJI drones, it's a little bit different. The batteries are very specific, and it's very hard to even find an aftermarket battery that isn't made by DJI. So what I wound up doing is I bought 2 additional batteries for it at full price. I think they were $45 or $50 each. And then I bought this separately. I bought replacement blades separately. But what I don't have that the Fly More combo does have is a little charging caddy for the batteries to charge them all at once. What I have to do without that little caddy is take out the full battery that's in my drone, put one in that's empty, and then plug it into USB-C and charge it with the drone itself. So I can only charge one battery at a time, and while I'm charging the battery, I can't use the drone because the drone is the charger. And that's why I think if you're in the market for the Mavic Mini 2, get the Fly More combo, if for nothing else other than that little charging caddy. One thing I did want to mention about this drone is because it's a smaller drone, and because it's not as powerful, and because it doesn't have as much weight as some of the other drones, it's much more susceptible to wind. So if you're planning on flying this drone, anything over a few miles an hour worth of wind is really going to affect how the shots look, as well as how safely you can even fly it. And I learned that the hard way. One of the first flights that I took this on was up at St. Mary's Glacier in Colorado, and it was really windy that day. I thought I can catch like a lull in the wind and kind of fly up, get a couple shots, and then land it down as quickly as possible, but that was not the case. No matter what direction I was telling it to fly in, it was just getting pushed backwards by the wind, and I wound up having to walk through a bunch of snow and snow drifts just to even find the thing. And luckily I still found it, but you'll see what I'm talking about as far as the wind in a second. Now, with that being said, let's take a look at some of the actual footage from the drone. Yeah.
Nice.
And I keep my fingers crossed the wind doesn't kill it.
Oh, yeah.
Perfectly, yeah.
It's actually getting blown backwards. Well, it just landed in the wood, in the grass over there somewhere.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god. I can't believe I actually found this thing. Look at this. In retrospect, flying in these winds was not a good idea. If you're considering getting a Mavic Mini 2 for yourself, I'm going to put an Amazon link down below that you can get one for yourself. If you already have one, I'd love to hear what your experiences are in the comments. If you have a video that showcasing what footage you were able to get, how it looks, what you were able to do with the Mavic Mini 2, I'd love to see that in the comments as well. Otherwise, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up or hit the subscribe button. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.